Have you ever tried translating your thoughts into Portuguese and felt like something just sounded off? That's because the way we express ourselves in European Portuguese is packed with unique cultural twists that don't always match English. And mind you, I'm not talking about idioms, but more about nuanced language usage that reveals a lot about the Portuguese. So today I'm going to show you 5 cultural traits that shape how we speak so you can sound way more natural and not like a textbook. A couple of years ago, a huge stone fell on both my feet. Yes, it was painful, and somehow I didn't break anything, but it was a huge light bulb moment for me. When telling the incident to my unschoolers, I suddenly realized English and Portuguese differ in something I hadn't ever thought of before. While in English, especially when you talk about body parts, you need to say it's my head that hurts or your nose that is bleeding. In Portuguese, however, if it's clear from context, you simply skip the possessive, my. Let's think of an example. You have something on your forehead. Would be, tens uma coisa na testa. There's simply no need to say na tua testa because I'm speaking directly to you, so it's obvious. Don't get me wrong. I can say it for emphasis, but generally it sounds redundant. It's equally silly to say acabei o meu doutoramento. I finished my PhD, since it's extremely unlikely I would finish anyone else's PhD, right? But back to body parts. One case where this is very clear is when we talk about aches and pains. Here we actually go a step further than just omitting your forehead. Let me show you how by going back to that incident with the stone. I hurt my foot is most likely expressed in Portuguese by saying magoei-me no pé. Literally, I hurt myself on the foot. See what I did there? I skipped the my foot entirely and simply said on the foot. But I didn't leave out the my completely. I made it more discreet by using a reflexive verb. In case you don't know, reflexive verbs are verbs where the subject and object are the same, meaning when the person who does the action is also the person who receives it. I call them boomerang verbs. I don't know about you, but I read a slight dose of self-inflicted guilt here. I hurt myself on the foot. Maybe it's just me, but if we jump to the next example, you'll see that guilt is a cultural trait hiding behind many Portuguese constructions. When we say I forgot, we actually use a reflexive verb, esqueci-me. It's almost like saying I forgot myself. The funny thing is, we could also say esqueci o telemóvel em casa. I forgot the mobile at home. But that doesn't sound right for 2 reasons. One is that esqueci without the me part is more common in Brazilian Portuguese. The second reason is that esqueci-me do telemóvel em casa puts a slight dose of blame on me. Again, guilt. Or, as the famous Portuguese rapper Capicua says, é que isto de ser português implica merecer certo castigo. It's just that being Portuguese means deserving a certain punishment. For my third example, I'm sticking to these small pronouns which are representative of a similar cultural trait to the sense of guilt we've seen so far. When we point fingers saying something was done to us, we also make it a lot more subtle than, for example, the English language. Imagine your teenage son drove his scooter all over your garden, thus ruining the grass. In Portuguese, we would say, ele estragou-me a relva. Literally, he ruined me the grass. My fourth example should be familiar to you already. If it isn't, you should start thinking of immersing yourself in native content. I have some suggestions and tips on how to improve your listening comprehension with them on my mini tuga. You can download it below. Pode ser is something we say all the time. Polish people too, by the way. It literally means it can be, and it's one of those phrases you should have on your back pocket, ready to use whenever you're asked. Queres combinar cafezinho esta semana? Podemos marcar a consulta para as 10 na próxima quarta-feira? Sim, pode ser. A Luísa vai trabalhar para o Dubai. Não pode ser. While the third pode ser could have also been used in English to imply that can't be right or that can't be true, the first two reveal a certain lack of agency. It may also be a great way to express you're not that excited to have coffee with the person from the first example. The fifth and last example is one I love and which has made such a difference to the way my unschoolers connect in Portuguese. This unschooler replied to the basic question, tudo bem? With vou andando, saying I'm going or I'm alright, like a Brit would say, expresses a lot. Let me unpack it for you. You're not doing amazing, but you don't want to lie. You don't know the person that well either, so you don't want to go into details as to what's not so great about your life at the moment. You want to give a polite yet truthful reply to the question. All of this by just saying, vou andando. Amazing, isn't it? I'm sure you'll hear such expressions or any of the other 4 examples of cultural traits I've mentioned up until now in my mini Tuga. When you understand the meaning behind the words we use, you will start speaking in a much more Portuguese way. But if those tiny pronouns we hardly enunciate drive you nuts, I strongly suggest you watch this video. It will be great training to your ears on some of the toughest things to hear in natural speech in Portuguese.